Hey guys, it's Michelle from Cozyegg, and today is March 11th, 2019, and this is episode 72. So it's been exactly a month since the last time I recorded, so I have a lot to show you. So get your stitching, get a beverage of your choice, sit back, and we'll get to it. So, first things first, what's been going on? To be honest, I'm really struggling right now. I'm not in a good place, but this is my one night out of the entire month that I have to myself. So it's either take advantage and record tonight or wait another month. So I'm going to do the best that I can, and I may have to come up with an alternative going forward, which I'll talk about when we get to plans. So let's get to it. Sorry. Okay. And this pile that I have here is like kind of overwhelming me, so I'm not even totally sure where to start. But that's what I have this for. So why don't we start with finishes, because that's a good place to start. So this was actually a new start and a finish, and I started it actually at the last week of February, and I'd hoped to finish it in February. Actually finished on the 1st of March. I didn't quite make it, but you know, it is what it is. Let me do this so that you can see that, since this fabric is transparent. So this is the Spring's Arrival stocking by Blackbird Designs, and my color's going really wonky. Yeah. Spring's Arrival stocking by Blackbird Designs, and this is stitched on the called for 30 count Old Town blend by R&R with the called for threads, which were a combination of Classic Colorworks, Weeks, and Gentle Arts. And it's really pretty. I love the way that it turned out. It was actually, I think I stitched this in 3 nights. 3 or 4. It may have been 4, since I was aiming to be done by the 28th. I really love the way that it turned out, and it was a fun little stitch. So this is part of my Blackbird stocking stitch along that I'm doing with a couple of friends. We're using the hashtag BBD stocking sal on Instagram if you want to join in, if you have these in your stash. I am only doing 1 a month because with everything else I'm trying to get done, that's really the most that I felt like I could commit to doing every month. If I get to more, I get to more, but that's my plan, is 1 a month. My friend Mary, I think, is trying to do all 3 for each month. So they come, Blackbird put these out, 1 a month, and then there's an additional Halloween booklet, and each booklet has 3 stockings in it. So this is the March booklet, and I may have mentioned I had already stitched all 3 of the February stockings, and so for February I ended up doing one of the March stockings. So, but I think Mary's trying to do 3 a month. Jana may be trying to do 3 a month, or just as many as she gets to. So my 1 a month seems to be good for me right now. So that is done. And while I have this out, I'm just going to go ahead and show you my the one that I'm going to do for March, which is also from the March booklet, and it is this one. It's called Quaker Fragments, and it's done in 2 different shades of green, and the called for is 30 count alabaster by Weeks R&R. So I have a big piece of that. So I actually got this all kitted up today. Oh shoot, that was the thing I needed to do. So I pulled one of the threads. This is called Evergreen by Gentle Arts. I'm not sure why we would call this evergreen, because that doesn't look like what I envisioned evergreen to look like, but whatever. But then it also calls for a second color that I think is like Lancaster. Lexington green, which is in my His Eyes on the Sparrow, which I intended to get out while I was digging around, and I forgot. Oh well. So that will be on the docket for March, now that I have finished my February stocking. And this is housed in my Levy Moore Studio Co. sleeve, because I want to do everything that Michelle does. So we are sleeve twins. Okay, so that was my start and finish. And that was, I had a couple new starts since I saw you last, and that was one of them, one of the 3, I think. So, I'm going to move right into whips. So, I'm still doing School of Magical Stitches, still very much enjoying it. And I think I mentioned before that one of the things that I'm liking about it is that it's challenging me, but it's also, there's enough flexibility with it, or creativity, depending on how you look at it, that I can fit the pieces that I want to work on into the challenges. So I'm trying to primarily focus on my Stitch 9 challenge pieces, and anything that I can do to incorporate one of those pieces into a challenge, it's like, you know, a bonus, because then I can, you know, stitch for the challenge, but then also get closer to finishing my Stitch 9 challenge piece. So I'm just gonna go in order, because I'm just going to show you what I have going on here, if I even can. So I've got several bags that are loose, but then I also have my whip basket. And so this is what I keep like my active whips in, like what I'm, you know, kind of switching between. I had to bring the whole basket. So, and now I don't have any place to set this. Move this. Let's see if I can set that right there. Okay. Yeah. But first up is Dutch Beauty. So as well as I recall, The last time I filmed was obviously also a Monday, and we had gotten our homework for that week that morning. So I was getting ready to work on Dutch Beauty, and that was the first piece that I was going to work on. And so the prompts were, or the challenges were, I think it was like, I don't remember how many stitches it was, 200, 300, I don't remember, on something that you have made changes to, that you've altered. And so obviously my Dutch Beauty fits the bill. Because if you've ever seen Dutch Beauty, you know that this is not what it looks like. So, this is a reproduction sampler by Permanent of Copenhagen. It's called a Dutch Beauty something, something. There's a year in there someplace. I am stitching on fabric that I dyed, 40 count, and I am doing my own darker kind of jewel tone conversion. So for the challenge, I actually worked up here. So basically at the top of the roosters, so from here to here is one page. That's basically one page. And the pages are in alphabetical order. They're not numbered, they're alphabetized. So this is page U, which is the last page. So whatever that is, 23, 24 pages. So I moved up here to work on this one, which I think may be N, P, I don't know, doesn't matter. You don't care. So I worked up here, and I do not have a good way to show you this where I can see what you're seeing. So I'm just going to try to look through there. So I worked on the line of grass that is underneath that urn. I worked on the urn. I worked on the little candlestick over here. I worked on my border a little bit more and adding some of the little doodads in. So yeah. So I actually used this for two challenges. So one was for a piece that you had altered, and one was for a piece with a cat in it. There's a lion in here, which counts. So I used this for two challenges that week. And I was happy to work on this some more. I was happy to get some, you know, actually get some good progress in this new page in, because the last time I'd worked on it, I think I just did like a little bit of the grass and maybe some border, and that was it. Page N. So, okay, so Dutch Beauty, that was the first thing I worked on. The next thing that I worked on was Blackened Sky. Actually, I take that back. I think the next thing that I worked on was my Halloween neighborhood. And I don't remember what the prompt was for this. I don't remember. But it may have been Ghost. I don't know. So what I worked on, I actually got this charted. And so I think last time I was telling you, you know, I wanted to work on this, but I was going to do Dutch Beauty first. That should get me through enough days that I would have time to kind of stall. and get the next bit of this charted. It was actually already charted when I pulled it up, so yay for that. So this was another start and a finish in February. So I stitched this witch on here, and she is from the Drawn Thread. There is a chart called When Skeletons Dance, and I just have always loved that witch, so I thought she needed to be in my neighborhood. And I just pulled threads that I had on hand, but there is one in particular I wanted to share with you. So when I was looking for thread to use for her hair, I wanted something really cool. You know, I didn't want it to be just purple. So I came across this thread that I've had in my stash forever, and I've never used it, way back when, in like the early blogging days. There was a stitcher that sent me a couple of skeins of thread that she dyed. She sent me this one and one other, and this just seemed like the perfect opportunity to use one of her threads. I don't think that she is still dyeing threads, but maybe somebody could tell me. So it's Sweet Pea Threads. I think her name was Jen, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is called Blackberry Jam. That's the name of this color. And so you can see, I mean, it is just fantastic how much variegation it has in there. So I just thought it was really perfect for her hair. So I was really happy to use that, and it made me happy to put it in this piece specifically. So yeah, so my witch is done, and the black that I used I think was onyx, so it's got a little variegation to it as well. Really happy with how she turned out. So that was another start and a finish, and then we had another challenge, or actually I think I finished her and then I started on another part because I needed more stitches or something. I don't remember. It's all sort of a blur at this point. And this one, there's not a lot to see, but I'll show you what I have. So over here, I am working on a house right here, next to one of my favorite houses on this whole piece. So this house is from Lizzie Kate's Very Scary Mystery Sampler from several years ago. If I'm not mistaken, it is actually charted to be a purple house, but since I already have a purple house, I didn't want to do another purple house. So there are some satin stitches that they have, you know, around as borders that are in sort of a teal color. So I actually am using that teal color for the house, which you can see just my itty bitty little start there. So that house will fit in there. And while I have this off the Q-snaps, I thought I'd show you the whole thing, what it looks like now. So it's really coming together. And I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm ready to start filling things in, you know, filling spaces in, which is why I wanted to put the witch up top. It's why I wanted to put this house over here. And you can see I have this big blank spot over here. So I will talk about that blank spot here momentarily. But yeah, I'm really loving how it's coming together. So okay, so that was my Halloween neighborhood. And so I used that for a couple different challenges. A project that had a skeleton on it, a project that had a ghost on it, a project that you have had to restart. So for any of you that haven't heard the story of how kind of what that started off as, it was a round robin, a neighborhood round robin, and there's always pictures of these neighborhood round robins that pop up on Pinterest, and then somebody posts in a Facebook group and says, does anybody know what designer this is? Well, it's like 15 designers. Sorry. So this was part of that round robin. My original piece was kept by one of the people in our round robin group, so I restarted it. And then after I got it back, I was just so disgusted and bitter about the whole thing that it sat in a closet for years and years and years, and I did not touch it. And so it wasn't until just a few years ago when I got it out and I started actually putting things on it that made me happy, and actually working on it and turning it into something that I really love. So totally fits for a restart piece, don't you think? And I think the actual prompt was something about, you know, a phoenix rising from the ashes. So, okay, so Blackened Sky. And I don't know if I've shown you this project bag or not. I think I have, but maybe not. So a friend of mine gave me this. It's a Made by Mama Joan bag. I love it to death. And so my Blackened Sky used to live in my big Raven bag with like 6 other projects. So it is now in here, and I love those clear front project bags so that I can see what's in there and not have to guess. And since most of my project bags are envelope style and they're not zipper style, you know, Emily's, you know, hang tag, whatever you call it, tag label things that you put on your zipper don't work for mine. I could pin one on, but anyway, so Blackened Sky by the Primitive Needle. Here's what that looks like. It's out of print, which I think everybody knows by now. And I am stitching this on the called for Vintage Pear by Lakeside. And I am stitching it with the called for Pure Palette Silks, which are stunningly gorgeous. And so I have used this for several challenges. So I used it for an extra credit challenge, which was to stitch on something, 500 stitches on a piece that has words in it. And then I've used it for a couple other, like the Polyjuice Potion, I think I mentioned that last time, challenges. And there was another challenge. Oh, so last week, the homework assignments were to stitch on something that could be purchased at a shop in Diagon Alley. And so I decided that you could purchase a telescope at Wiseacre's Wizard Supplies, and there are stars on Blacked Sky, which you can look at with a telescope. And of course, every time I think about telescopes, all I can think of is friends saying, Mars is bright tonight. So here's where I'm at. I am just really having issues tonight. So I've been working on block 2, and it's coming along. And I love how it looks. Absolutely love how it looks. That kind of silvery gray silk is just a stunner. And I love it. That bright green is called Envy, I think. I love it. So, the other night I was working on this, and I was working on bringing this tree down to the bottom of the block, and I got down there and realized I was somehow a row off, that I was down where the border matches up with block 1, but I still had one more row I needed to stitch. So I spent about 20-30 minutes the other night, I think it was Friday night, and I went over block 2 completely, trying to figure out where I had made my mistake and how I was off an entire row. It turns out that block 2 is fine. The problem is block 1. So when I started my words, they are actually a row too high, which of course then made the border be a row too high. So I messaged with Diana, it is Kismet Stitches, about what my options were, because I don't want to rip this out. I really don't want to rip anything out over here. So what I think I'm going to do is just have this block, be a row shorter, because the rows below it, it doesn't really matter. I don't think one row is going to make any bit of difference. You'll never know it. And that's the way that I can do that with the least amount of effort. So there is a diamond row right here that looks like this diamond row. It's charted so that it has a space between the bottom of the grass and where the cauldron, the black, starts. And then there's supposed to be a space between it and the border. So I can either leave this where it is and run it into the border so that there's no gap, or I can rip this out and move it up one so that there is a gap between it and the border. That's actually what I'm leaning towards. Because the border is the same color cauldron. And I just think it might be nicer to have that rest in between. So I haven't decided yet. I've sort of decided, but we'll see. That does mean I have to rip out all of those diamonds, and the line of cauldron I've already done. I could just leave it, because then the other piece, you know, to consider is this is expensive silk, and I don't really want to be ripping it out and having to restitch that. So okay, so there's Black and Sky. Black and Sky is one of my Stitch 9. So is my Halloween Neighborhood. So both of those are Stitch 9. So then let's talk about Sampler Sisters. So Sampler Sisters lives in this bag. And you can see it's envelope style. It has scissor jail. And here is what Sampler Sisters looks like. This is also a primitive needle piece, also out of print. And this was a stitch along that I started with Emily and Diana. Eclectic Possessions and It Is Kismet Stitches back, I think, in November. I am stitching this on the called for 40 count mellow by Picture This Plus with the called for Weeks and Gentle Arts. So I used this for a couple of homework assignments also. One of them was to stitch on a piece with a weapon. And there is a pair of scissors on this piece. I haven't gotten to them yet, but there's a pair of scissors on this piece, so scissors are most definitely a weapon. Especially if you use my fabric scissors to cut paper with. Then there was one of the homework assignments last week, Diagon Alley. Why can I not say that? Diagon Alley. I was going to go to the Magical Menagerie and get a cat, and there is a cat on this piece. So I don't think there's an owl, but there is a cat, so I use this for that. So, and let me also introduce you to my new needle minder, thanks to Robin, My Life's a Stitch. This was actually a pin that she bought one for each of us and made them into needle minders. And so if you have read the Fever series by Karen Marie Monning, you will recognize that that is Michaela Lane in her MAC Halo with her sword. So we could not pass these up. We had to have them. So love it, love it, love it. So she sent that to me and I'm just enamored with it. So on this, I did finish up the words, and then I have stitched these two motifs up here, and I stitched this bird. So not a ton on here, but I think it was like 200 stitches and then 250 stitches or something. So moving right along. And this is also on my Stitch 9. So I'm very much enjoying this piece. So that is Sampler Sisters. And I had the window open, the blinds open because it was light outside. I'm actually going to close them because now. So Sampler Sisters. Okay, then I did work on Crown, well, I've worked on Crown Bird, but I think you've seen the last that I did on this. And this is in a beautiful bag made by Becky Socks for Mom. She has an Etsy shop. She makes these stunning, stunning bags. And so this is not on my stitch 9, but this was a stitch along that we started in January. I don't think I've worked on this since I looked at it, since I showed it to you last time. But that's where it is. And this is gonna get some love this month, I think. So it's here in my whip basket. Okay. So one of the assignments that we had to do was to put to make a list of our top 20 whips, if you had 20 or more than 20. If you didn't have that many, you just had to put as many as you had. So I took my stitch 9 and then I threw some other stuff in there because I thought, why not? So one of the homework assignments was stitch however many stitches, 300 stitches, I think, on your whip that's in the number 13 spot, because the number 13 features prominently in the beginning of Prisoner of Azkaban, which is what we're reading this month and next month. Because it's like 13 for Harry turning 13. His birthday is on the 31st. And then Sirius Black killed 13 people. So this is in my Paris matte bag. I noticed that my button is tarnishing my fabric right there because it is a metal button. So of course I went and looked at my thing to see, oh, okay, what's in the 13th spot? I don't know what possessed me. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have made a poor choice. I should never put that on my list because 300 stitches is gonna be rough. Snooty Parrot. So here's my Snooty Parrot. This is on 5260 count linen, which means it's 52 threads in one direction and 60 in the other. So it is an uneven count. I'm stitching with this with Tudor silks that are made by Gloriana. I got my 5260 linen and the Tudor silks from the attic. So you can see how small that is. It's tiny. So 300 stitches. So what I worked on is, let me fold this at postcard size. I worked on that deer and I got the deer finished. And then I managed to make it down to be able to start one of the parrots. And I thought, if I can get to the parrot, I will be more likely to pick this back up and work on it again because I have been itching to get down to the parrots. So there he is. The first of the parrot. I'm just moving around too much. So, yeah, I managed to do it. It took a lot. And I just have my working copy in here. I don't have my, but there's a, So I've done this up here and I've kind of worked down this way. I'm working on this guy here. So should probably go across and work on the Adam and Eve. That would make me happy. But parrot first, Adam and Eve next. And so this was a stitch along for one of the Sampler World year-long stitch alongs, which is when I started it, and that was like 2014 or something. This was released 2013, so it was probably 2014. And so I've been sort of working, so they broke it up into parts, and so I've been sort of working in that. So I did part 1 and 2, and I've been working in part 3, sort of. I don't have that big basket of flowers though, but I had to get down to the parrot, so I'll go back and do the basket of flowers. So there you go. This is also not one of my Stitch 9 pieces, but I put it on my list of top 20 for some ungodly reason, and sure enough, it came up. So snooty parrots. And then I finally got the opportunity to work on Anniversaries of the Heart, which I have not worked on. I don't think I worked on it at all this year. I was pushing to get it done at the end of the year, and I didn't. So I'm working on this block, Pumpkin Farm, which is block 10. There are 12 blocks and then a big bonus double block. So, I don't know what that's doing. Anyway, so where am I? So here's where I'm at. So I worked on this for the Diagon Alley homework assignment as well, because there's a big pumpkin on there, thus the name Pumpkin House. And I figured I would go to the Leaky Cauldron and get some pumpkin juice, right? So I'm really loving this block. I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than the last several blocks that I stitched on here. And I'm actually really close to finishing this block. So I think I'm going to use this for one of the ultimate stitching challenge, like the year-long, they're kind of extra credit challenge pieces that are worth 150 points. You have to stitch 1,000 stitches. And I'm thinking I may use this piece for one of the challenges, because I think it would help me get this block done and maybe a good start on the second block, on the next block. So I don't know if I have shown this to you recently. I don't think I have, and you probably have not seen it out of the Q-snaps in a while. But here is the whole piece. So I'm on the bottom row. It's been a while since you guys have probably seen some of these blocks. So, all right. This is on 40 count vintage exemplar by Lakeside. And for the most part, I'm using the called for overdyes that are mostly, you know, crescent colors, weeks, gassed. And I have my Ouija board needle minder that my friend Mary gave me. So, I do plan, like I said, if I can't make it work into a regular homework assignment, I'm going to at least work on it for that extra stitching challenge and get 1,000 stitches in there. So that's really everything that I've been working on. So then let's talk about what my plans are for my next pieces, or my homework assignments, or whatever we're calling it. So the prompt this week is, because we're eating chocolate, because of the Dementors that are stationed around school, you have to stitch 300 stitches with brown thread. So I was a little stumped as to what to work on that had brown thread, but I got to looking at my sampler sisters, and there is right up here, there is a big horse with a rider. So I think I'm gonna try to get up to the horse and stitch the horse for my 300 brown stitches, because they are stitched in Weeks Havana, which is definitely brown. So I think I'm gonna do that. And let me see if I can show you. So right there. So surely that has 300 stitches in it. If not, I'll have to find more, but that probably has 300 stitches. So 300 stitches for that. And then the other one is to stitch on something that has claws or talons, because we've started our Care of Magical Creatures class. So I kind of went back and forth on this one, but I think I can actually, you don't have to stitch the thing with claws or talons, but I think that I can just use my crown bird, because all birds have either claws or talons. So I think I can just use that. This is so washed out now. Anyway, so I think I'm gonna do that. And then I've been sort of planning the extra credit assignments for the next bit. So since Prisoner of Azkaban is a longer book, year 3 is going to go March and April. So year 1 was January, year 2 was February, so year 3 is going to be March and April. So we have extra credit assignments that you can do throughout March and April. And so one of them is to stitch some stitches in DMC 310 for Sirius Black. And I was going to just use my Dracula book cover because that's all 310. But then it occurred to me, remember that big blank spot on my Halloween neighborhood? I actually have a headless horseman that I have figured out a way to fit in there. And he's kind of big, so I think I'm just going to do him in 310 rather than doing him in an overdyed. So I may do that, since that's a stitch 9 piece. I may do that rather than digging out my book cover. There is a prompt for a piece that kind of sucks the life out of you, so Colonial Garden will get some more attention, which is, I think you've seen it since I worked on it. Like, I don't think I've worked on it since I last showed it to you. But There's Colonial Garden. Yeah, that is so washed out. So that'll get some more attention. And it's living in here with Blackened Sky. Because I can't not put two things in a project bag. Something. So we have to stitch on something old. And a lot of people are really struggling with this one because it has to be older than like 1990, which if you're doing reproduction samplers, no problem. But I thought that I haven't stitched on this in a long time, but this is one of my Stitch 9 pieces, which is the Little Red Chair Sampler by Scarlet House, which is on, I think, 45 count. And I wish that I could show you a picture of this. Here's my problem. This is my problem. This is why I can never show you a picture of what this looks like. Because this was a workshop at the attic, the way that it was kitted out was darling, but it was in a big envelope, you know, like a manila envelope that you get that has the little, you know, tie thing on the back, but it was red, and she had the photo of the piece on the front of that. And then the chart was on the inside, the fabric was on the inside, and then she had all of our threads, which are Tudor silks, on this cute ring that has a red chair on one side, and it has the thread key on the back. Super cute, but that envelope didn't fit in my project bag. So it has since gotten separated. I think it's with my other pieces from that workshop, and I'm not entirely sure where those are. So that's why I never have a picture to show you guys, because it's AWOL. So, but I think I might get this out and work on it. Even though I just complained about Snooty Parrot and how tiny that was, I'm really kind of wanting to get this one out and work on it because I love this piece, and I'd really love to have it done. It's not a huge piece. I mean, it's not big. This was another one that I got a little bit bitter about. I won't go into why, but I put it away, and it hasn't come out since then. So, and I found some little Tudor Rose scissors that live in this bag with my little scissor fob that my friend Ava made for me. So these live in this bag. When I got into my bag that has Snooty Parrot in it, I found 3 pairs of scissors. I found my very nice Dovos, my black matte Dovos. I found a pair of silver, regular size Tudor Rose scissors, and then a pair of gold scissors that has a Snooty Parrot fob on it. Because apparently I needed 3 pairs of scissors in that bag. And for once in my life, that bag actually only has 1 project in it. No, I lied, it has 2. Never mind. So I think I'm going to work on Red Chair, because that is a reproduction sampler from an original. I don't remember the date on it. I wonder if this will tell me. Of course, I've got my original chart in here, which I really don't like to do just in case anything happens to it. I usually like to put my working copy in here, but you know. Is there a date on this thing? I don't see a date. I'll have to go back and look, but it is a reproduction, so I'm fine. So I will work on that. I was really kind of thinking, oh, maybe I want to get out Victorine or Justine, but this is stitch 9, so it can be worked on. And it's in my bag that is from fabric that was bought in Bavaria. Yeah. So then one of the prompts is to stitch on something that brings you joy, that makes you happy, so that you can produce your Patronus. Now everything's so blown out. I wonder if I turn my light down, if that'll help. Having issues tonight. All right, so something that brings you joy. I thought this is also a stitch 9, and I haven't had the opportunity to work on this since I started Magical Stitches. So I thought I'd go back and work on the simple things. Blackbird. And this is where this was the last time you saw it. And I do love this piece. It makes me really happy. So I am going to work on that. For that, these are some of the extra credit assignments. I don't know if I said that. And so in the beginning of The Prisoner of Azkaban, the Weasleys go on vacation to Egypt to visit Bill or Charlie, one of the two. So it said to work on something that's travel related or from a different country. But if they're going to Egypt, what better thing to work on than my Egypt garden that's in my beautiful Eclectic Possessions Momily bag that she made for me. Because I haven't worked on this and it's so fat because I have all of my threads in there. I haven't worked on this since I started it, I think. And I started it for my birthday, I think 2 years ago. So I just have the teeniest of little starts. So I think I need to get this out and work on it. I think it's the perfect thing. And I did not put this on my stitch 9 or anything because it's nowhere close to being finished. And I kind of wanted something that was, you know, I wanted things that were close to being finished. And I always keep all of my cards with my little gifts so that every time I open this up, I can read that and it makes me happy. Yeah. So Egypt Garden is going to come out to play, which I'm super excited about because I haven't worked on this in like 2 years and I need to. So I think that's kind of covers my plans and what I'm going to work on as far as Magical Stitches, extra credit, all of that kind of thing. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm still so blown out. I don't know what the deal is. Whatever. you guys probably aren't even watching anyway. You're probably stitching. But here's what I'm thinking. Because it is, like I said, so hard for me to do a video because I only get like one night a month by myself. I saw that somebody was doing a vlog of their Magical Stitches stuff. So since I'm working on so many different projects, I thought maybe it might make more sense to do like a vlog. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, I typically do that for Dark October because I'm switching between projects so frequently, and I kind of love doing it for Dark October. I did it for Mania. Also, I don't know if I'm going to participate in Mania this year. I don't know. But we'll see. But I'm kind of thinking I might do a vlog since I'm working on so many pieces, so many different pieces, that it becomes overwhelming. Like my whole table is full. Like I have 4 stacks and stuff in the chair and stuff in the basket and the hiccups. So I'm just thinking that might be easier on me, and then maybe I could do a video more often. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Maybe you don't want to see me more often. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of gifts that I got. I need to take my stuff out of here. My friend Mary taught us how to make the vinyl front project bags when we were at our quilt retreat a couple of weekends ago, 4 weekends ago, whatever. And she ended up making one of these for me with the Tula Pink De La Luna fabric and glitter vinyl. When she saw that Christine from Stitch All the Things used glitter vinyl, she was like, I didn't know such a thing existed. Now I need to have it. So I think she bought like a bunch of different colors. But so she made this De La Luna piece for me. I absolutely love it so much. And I love the eye fabric. It's awesome. So, I have another little piece in here that I've been working on, but it's a gift, so I'm not going to show it to you. But what I will show you is I have also been making use of my poison bottle bag that Diana made me a million years ago. She made me a big bag and then this smaller little notions pouch / scissor jail for it that was to put Poison Garden in, which has not happened. And I don't feel right using the bag for anything but Poison Garden. So I did, however, get the notions pouch out, and I've been using it. So, and it just seemed kind of perfect with the De La Luna fabric because it's got those greens on there. So anyway, one of these days, Poison Garden. And I also got this fantastic bag from Becky. So this is Harry Potter, which of course is just super fun because we're doing magical stitches together. Even though she's in a different house than I am, I still cheer her on. And this is one of her new ones that has this little D-ring on here, so you can clip your scissors to it. You could clip your threads to it. You could clip, you know, a little tag, whatever. Super fun. You could clip it to your belt. Okay. So thank you for that, Becky. I did finish reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And so I have started Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I'm about halfway through. I need to finish this up so I can work on Prisoner of Azkaban. Thoroughly enjoying my reread though. Very much. And in fact, don't you think that instead of being in a plastic bag, that my Simple Things needs to go in my new Harry Potter bag? I think so. I think so. Yay. That makes me super happy. Okay. I guess the only other thing is, of course, the elephant in the room, which is Market. There was so much good stuff at Market this year. Like, I called it the year of the sampler because it seemed like there were so many good samplers that were released this time. So many good samplers. And I'm super, super excited for Janine from the Blue Flower. Janine and I actually met. She lived here for a while and is a member of the Tudor Rose Guild. And, you know, she and I talked frequently at meetings. And so, you know, she was talking about as she was just starting to kind of do her own designing and get started on that. And of course, at the same time, I was starting my own designing. And so my piece, I don't know if you remember it, but my La Luna piece, the piece of Gothic linen, Picture This Plus linen that I stitched it on, was actually a gift from Janine. So she actually made that, you know, a possibility for me. So I kind of owe her my thanks for making my first design happen. So super excited for her and all of the buzz over her releases at Market. Super excited. And I'm excited also to see you know, new designers going to Market. I think it's really important for, you know, for that to happen and it not just be kind of the old regime, so to speak. You know, as designers have retired, I think it's important to make sure that that new designers are taking their place and we're keeping that momentum going. So I was so excited to see Janine going and so excited to see Stephanie from Lindy Stitches going. Ingleside Imaginarium, you know, just really exciting to see all of that. A little bittersweet though as well, because it really brought home to me that I need, you know, it's been a year since I released La Luna, so I need to get moving. So anyway, so lots of good releases. You know, Kathy Barrick, of course, phenomenal. You just can't go wrong. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. So, and I think Kathy Barrick's moth that she released would look beautiful with my La Luna. So I'm going to be getting that one for sure. All right, guys, I think that's it. I'm going to go work on my homework, and hopefully I was not too, you know, I got a few little moments there, but okay. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention was Jen from Quirks and Stitches is, if you haven't seen her video for her 24 hours of cross stitch that she did with her mom, go watch it because it's awesome. So funny. But and so she is doing that again. She has a Facebook group that she has started called hashtag 24 hours of cross stitch, all one word run together. So look for that. You can join, and they're going to be doing it like the first weekend of April, and I think it's like a Friday, Saturday. So starting at 4 p.m., running through 4 p.m. the next day, and you can do as many or as few hours as you want to participate. The hours do not have to all be at one time. You can space them out. So if you want to do some on Friday, some on Saturday. So just something to think about. But I think that that's all that I got. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of your comments and likes and follows and shout outs and all that stuff. So I'm going to go stitch. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.